who Dubai is actually for and whether it makes sense for you. I lived in Dubai for 4 years and recently visited there and returned to Lisbon, where I currently live, and this made me reflect quite a lot. Two cities, two entirely different philosophies. On one hand, you have Lisbon, which invites you to slow down. On the other, Dubai actually dares you to speed up. Now the question is, which one is right for you and when? Now, having left Dubai for certain reasons, I'm here to tell you the truth. The real challenge is to define places where you can achieve growth, maintain growth without sacrificing life quality. So here is the key question. Is it possible? Here is my honest, unfiltered breakdown of what I've learned about ambition, freedom, and the price you pay for each. And by the end, perhaps you will know more if Dubai makes sense for you and your family. I lived in Dubai for many years, have many friends there, and I've since then helped so many people, founders, families to relocate long term and eventually make their own strategic choices in the global, I would say, chess board. Here is what I learned. People who usually focus on the wrong variables. When it comes to Dubai, typically there is this 0% tax as the key element for the decision, but honestly, this is just the entry point. In my view, you should ask yourself, what is this city actually optimized for, and does it match what I'm currently, in my specific phase of life, trying to build. Dubai works spectacularly for some people, but at the same time, it's completely wrong for others. That's why probably some friends of yours talked very great about this city or the UAE in general, and others are actually so afraid of this place. Even if it's the right for you in theory, it may not be the right for you in this specific phase of life. So most people don't figure it out which category they're belonging, and let me actually show you in my own words what Dubai actually is. Firstly, Dubai moves very fast, like unapologetically fast. You arrive and your brain starts rewiring within 48 hours. It's a plug-and-play city. You just land, everything is effectively and comfortably achievable through an application or something like that. The deals in general close fast. Maybe I'm biased, but last time I've been there, in 72 hours we closed so many deals. We actually signed the deal finally after months with the #1 company worldwide in our industry. After months of discussion, we met there in an hotel, a CEO, and the deal was closed in 1 hour. Everyone was switched on, the same feeling of eventually visiting New York or the US. You don't need to wait, you don't need to eventually invest or waste too much time. People you meet 3 years ago are now running eventually multi-million-dollar brands. It happened to me. I know one VC specifically. If you are connected at the same time, you can bump up in a dinner with influencers or personalities with millions of followers on social, which do have their own value if you are in specific segment of markets. If it's your grind and you want to be connected, I think there is only one place, to be frank, in the world to put that at perfect work. Right now, still it's Dubai. It's a place that doesn't really just encourage motion or ambition, it rewards it deeply, which is possibly, and to be frank, the opposite of other systems like perhaps Europe right now. There is no real waiting for regulators, including the, for example, crypto asset regulatory authority there. It's very effective and efficient. It seems overall that people are there for working with you, not against you. Most importantly, even in the average person, friend, colleague that you may find there, there is no, generally speaking, silent judgment for success. Success is rewarded. There is no guilt for maybe skipping a dinner for closing a deal. It's a sort of eventually raw capitalism meeting a very much, as I'm telling you, plug and play life. Once you leave, typically once you take a plane out of the UAE or Dubai and you land perhaps in Europe, but even in some regions of the US, as a paradox, and for sure in many other regions of the world, you feel how slow compared to the UAE the rest of the world is moving. The energy is real. A trader I recently met there put it at best. In Dubai, money still comes in. That's why people still take risks. So if you work in tech, if you work in finance, it really depends on your profile, but you know, the risk tolerance on average in Dubai is higher. Risk taking is simply the norm. On the other hand, one important disclaimer, if you are thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to Dubai and I'm going to create my fortune from scratch, this is not going to work necessarily. It's full of competition and it's not perfect, as we will see in a few minutes from now. That said, that's why a real estate developer in Dubai in general can make money in 3 years. I know a few people who in the span of time of 5 years, they changed the course of their financial eventually status, doing, for example, intermediation on real estate. At the same time, that's why so many are trying to do it there. This doesn't happen in many other places. If you think for a moment, social mobility is very hard overall in the world, and in general, especially the first 5 millions of your personal net worth are the most difficult. I would say brutally difficult. This is a bit my take. Energy is in Dubai, and at the same time, Dubai rewards that energy, and the more eventually rewards you, the more eventually Dubai gets in your head. There is a sort of it's possible mindset embedded in the city for me, and this is something I heard so many times. When you work in the city, even with friends, it's very easy to fall in eventually into this mindset because you see skyscrapers, squares, places that literally 10, 20 years ago they didn't exist. At the same time, when you live there, besides this kind of more architectural note, you can see people who had nothing eventually in a few years doing well. And this doing well really depends. Sometimes they are maybe raising a lot or 10 million for their startup, or they have made good profits with their business. They weren't lucky, and even if you wish you could tell yourself, well, the reality is that probably they moved, they built, they executed in a place that rewarded that attitude, which is once again the opposite of the one in many other places in the world. When you see all this happening, you will start inevitably in Dubai asking yourself, okay, why not me? Right? And that's the real sort of drag. It's not really the money, it's not anything else, it's probably the sense of permission and the encouragement in creating something new. We need also to acknowledge eventually some other aspects. Let's dive a little deeper in this. What does it actually deliver on the ground? So 0% personal income. This is one of still of the cleanest, most predictable fiscal setups per person. On the corporate side, effectively there is 9% corporate tax for above more or less the equivalent to $100,000. Below threshold is still zero. Let's be frank, it's not bad. For personal taxation, still zero. Dubai is 90 days for a tax certificate. Let's keep in mind that usually many places require 180 days or 6 months and 1 day. That's huge if you're a digital nomad or rotating between countries or hubs in general. Spectacular infrastructure. Everything works. It's fast. I have so many stories. My wife, in 15 minutes, she did a medical test for renewing the visa. Incredible experience. Plug and play services. Do you want a license, a visa, eventually an office? It's done next week. 7 months of unbeatable weather. There is almost no rain with some days of exception. The weather in my view is great, especially for people who love the more Mediterranean, I would say, climate, or southern region of the world climate, like closer to Miami. Once again, the it's possible culture, ambition is not mocked or stunted, it's rewarded and eventually multiplied everywhere. This is an incredible, in my view, asset or perk of Dubai. Global connectivity, Europe, Asia, Africa, it's all in 6 hours of radius. Dubai is in a fantastic time zone, with the exception of working with the US. Every time I had to do calls with the US, it was quite problematic. In most cities, especially in Southern Europe, you arrived already tired in the office because things move slow and are overall inefficient. In Dubai, you arrive, book an hotel and Uber, and everything just works. There is no friction, maximum focus, and if you're there to build, that's great. Another point, talent attraction. That's a big one. There are some disclaimers and caveats, but overall, Dubai has mastered, I would say, in attracting and retaining talent from all over the world. And usually they are ambitious, driven, capable people. I remember I started having a chat with an employee of an hotel in an elevator, and he was a normal, eventually, waiter, and the guy was probably from India, and as one of the reasons why I moved to Dubai, the fact that he was a avid reader of Warren Buffett, and we had a discussion about some Warren Buffett quotes. Once again, this kind of mindset is shared across the normal population, and that's, in my view, fantastic. All of this sounds great, right? The reality is that there are costs, there are multiple costs, and that's why I've left. I want to be clear, there is no one single reason, and I plan potentially one day to come back. Which are the reasons? Many small ones stacked over time that made me deciding to move out. And one of the most underrated is something that most people don't talk about, which is isolation. I will get that in a bit. Now, here is a comprehensive list of reasons why people leave. I would say I have felt all of them. I would like to tell you my own experience. First and foremost, the financial reality. Now, the 0% corporate tax is no longer a reality. In my view, this is something to consider for Dubai. 9% is there. The enforcement is not yet entirely clear. For example, how you tax your own salary. Even with the 0% income tax in Dubai, there is an hidden cost that rebalance overall savings. Imagine, first of all, that maintaining your own setup costs, I'm talking just of the bureaucratical setup, it will cost you, even with a freelance license, between $6,000-7,000 per year as minimum. There are visa renewals, mandatory insurance, overall some compliance costs. If you have kids, well, international schools are not cheap. International schools fees will often exceed of what you would save in taxes in certain other places. It depends, of course, on your average income. Think about it. You save 30 to 50k in taxes, but you pay 60k in schooling. That's not an investment, that's a net loss. Another one is banking. Banking not always is so efficient as it should, especially for crypto, people dealing with crypto or collecting international payments. Local banking could be not the best. Some clients, that's the reality, simply struggle to pay companies based in Dubai. And if you're building a startup that needs venture capital money, Dubai, and at least the Dubai legislation, is not, I would say, the most global VC-friendly legislation. Investors still prefer the US or Singapore's structures. Lifestyle costs. You're always there, but you're never home. This is something that I've heard so many times, and it's not great. Everyone is optimizing. Few are really rooted in the place. Food quality, in my view, is shockingly low. You can pay a lot for restaurants where eventually you visit different restaurants, and the menus after 3 months, they all look look similar, even the name of the dishes. There are some exceptions, but even in the 5-star hotels where you pay between $100, $150, at least without, of course, alcohol, in my view, the food quality is simply not there. And you really realize it when you come back in a different place. Things really taste differently. Money, also in Dubai, to be frank, it's spent at the speed of light. So there are dozens of reasons to spend money daily. Also because services in general work, so you are incentivized and you want to buy things. The representation of Dubai that I like to share is that sometimes it's like driving a V8 engine and seeing the gas counter eventually slowing, going down, right? And down at every hour of the day. And when you arrive at eventually in the evening, you have spent more than you expected. Air quality, let's be also very frank, especially in the summer, you're permanently inside air conditioning, even if you like it, after a while is not really ideal. 4 months of the year are simply objectively unlivable. Summer is brutal. Everyone who can afford it leaves the city. Local networks, especially for Emiratis, of course, are, I would say, hard to access. There is a general sentiment of everyone sharing a surface which is inherently transient. It's like if we are all together in a sort of large hotel and we don't feel eventually belonging or having super deep roots in one single place. In my own words, Dubai, I would say, makes you feel like you can do literally anything, but it doesn't always make you feel that you belong there. And finally, by the way, to complete my list of reasons of why, in my view, this city, although amazing, has some cons, is that there is, at least in my view, an hidden isolation in Dubai. I've been claiming this since the very beginning, especially when people were asking me, hey, should I relocate there? Since the beginning, I was telling them, yes, but be aware, especially for couples, especially if there is one of the two partners who is not working, well, be aware that staying in the same apartment in the cold AC in a skyscraper in Dubai can be isolating, to be frank. And no one talks really about this loneliness, so I hope this can be of help for you. Dubai works too well. Every interaction is engineered at perfection. Every meeting is scheduled. It's hard except one specific time of the day with the rush hours to become late. So this may create a sense of lack of authenticity. Spontaneous meetings at a bar or a cafe or in the street, again, they may be more difficult. And if you're married with kids, well, great infrastructure, extreme safety, order, I love it. If you're single and partying, on the other hand, plenty of options for going out, meeting friends, meeting new people. But if you're single and building, especially if you're chasing our problems and you are eventually an ambitious person, you're looking for co-founders or having eventually sometimes some deeper conversations, the atmosphere could be sometimes a bit sterile, okay? You get to somehow this perception of being surrounded by people, but sometimes you are completely alone. And for me, all these costs, eventually, financial, lifestyle, the artificial feeling, the isolation, they stacked up over time. And also for business opportunities, I had a window of opportunity also for a specific tax exemption regime in Portugal. So I've decided also for personal matters to eventually make a change. By the way, if you find this content around global living optimization and borderless life, I would say, interesting, I would like to ask you to subscribe. I'm going to ship so many videos on these topics, and I generally would like to be here helping your eventually path of global living and future decisions for yourself, your family, and so far and so on. Also because in general, what worked a few years ago or 5 years ago may not work today. I break down this insight on a daily basis. I'm quite obsessed on these topics and building products and companies in these areas, and I really would like to help you making the best informed decisions about where to base yourself. And I love all these concepts about residency, citizenship, and so far and so on. Who Dubai is for? Let me be very clear about who should actually consider Dubai. Dubai works brilliantly if, in my view, you are, for example, people in their 20s in full building mode. Grinding mode, in my view, it's one of the best places where you can be. The energy in Dubai, unmatched. High income employees with companies or subsidiaries in the UAE, the structure is built for you. The average salary is much higher if you are working somehow in a corporate environment. This could be a fantastic setup for you. Small business owners with an income of below eventually 100k per year, this could be to a certain extent a sweet spot because you can have eventually a remote oriented setup in Dubai and obtain still 0% taxation because the threshold would be a bit higher. And still there are nuances, it can be a bit higher, there could be cost, there can be your salary and so far and so on. If you're a digital nomad, I think that Dubai can still work awesomely for you. Why? Because you still have the 90 days of effective residency in the country on a yearly basis in order to receive the tax certificate from Dubai. And of course, if you're a freelancer with some flexible income structures, maybe a foreign company, well, this could eventually work even better for you and you can retain the freedom to travel and as well work from everywhere in the world. But Dubai does not work for you if you need, for example, to build a community from scratch, both professionally or personally. It's a bit sterile and a bit transactional. In my view, if you're looking for your soulmate or co-founder, sometimes the likelihood of this happening in Dubai, of course, is there, but doesn't always apply. Startups who needs VC funding, well, you will need very likely to have a structure outside the UAE. Usually US, Singapore are better options, especially if you are seeking for American-oriented funding. Family with kids, safety, order, infrastructure, international schools are all there. On the other hand, you need to consider, especially when we have kids, your capacity of moving around when the summer hits is limited. Make your own, of course, assessment. I know plenty of families who are super happy in Dubai the whole year. And overall, I would say that Dubai is not perfect in general for those people who are really craving every single time for a bit more authenticity, eventually some spontaneity, because in the end, you may find always a bit of transactional environment, and everyone there necessarily with a purpose makes the place in the end inevitably a bit less spontaneous. This has been my wrap up about why Dubai and why not Dubai. This comes from my direct experience. I hope you enjoyed this kind of view. What I am doing personally, I am strategically based in one place, in this case Lisbon, but I'm also very frequently traveling. I have my hub also in Singapore, and I'm rotating with some strategic weeks in a year spending in different hubs with higher energy. This is something that I can expand in a different video. On the other hand, Lisbon is the opposite of Dubai, so there are other pros and many cons. And in my view, sometimes if you can, of course, and if that's also what enables you to live better, I think that rotating among hubs in a strategic manner, having at the same time a place where you can feel belonging, that's the right, in my view, balance. This is how I personally decided to live my own life, and this is what enables me to eventually live and express myself at best. So, to conclude, Dubai isn't heaven, but it's not really completely fake either, at all. The Dubai effect, especially in terms of energy, in terms of opportunity, is real, and if you can, and if you're, of course, the right profile with the right eventual track record, it's very powerful for you. It's a sort of machine built for speed, and taken within these limits, it's phenomenal. Probably the number one place in the world. I'm definitely personally not writing off for myself or for my family. I lived there many years, and truly I may live there again. Right now, as I was telling you, I'm moving through different cities with more intention, I would say. The question that I would like to ask you, and which eventually will define your own strategies, what are you optimizing for? Because if you're optimizing for velocity, speed, and eventually ambition, the UAE can be still a fantastic place. Let me tell you, but this would be probably the topic for another video. I think there is nothing better in the world as a setup of spending 7 months per year in the UAE and eventually the rest in Europe, perhaps during the incredible European summer. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, if you want to listen to more content like this, subscribe to the channel, and especially on X, I'm quite active every single day, so give me a follow also there, and let's chat in DMs at any time. I wish you a great day, and let me know if you like or not like these angles, what you think about the UAE once you have visited. Tell me what you think about the pros and cons I have made today. I really would like to learn from your experience, and especially if you had a radically different experience, please comment under this video, because I'm going to read them, and I'm constantly learning and trying to also absorb others' perspective.